This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages right here on #WeAreMovieClub. It's time for Scary Movie Squad. Oh god, that background's awful, isn't it? I thought the lighting was better. It changes. It flux and wanes. But salutations. I am Cameron. I am conversation ready. Let's fix that though. That static looks no good. It's so last season. Yeah, there. Sure. Yeah, much better. Much better, says I. Although I can't necessarily say that about the sequel to Alien. Aliens! They went plural. It's honestly, it's got to be the laziest way to take a concept into a sequel, I would think. Why is it like that? Let's like, in our last movie, we had one alien. What if we had two aliens? Or maybe even three? But Jimmy, why would we have that? Because they're colonizing a colony. I don't know why New Yorkers are making movies like this. This is definitely a Hollywood adaptation. But the conversation stands. Maybe like that. I didn't do this properly. Are my eyes that red? It's like they're in my brain. Okay. I'm just having fun. This is trying to make a podcast because I got my equipment fixed and hopefully, or replaced really, and hopefully in any way, shape, or form, our shares over on Rabbit/Camerai will be much better. Yeah. Oh god, this movie though. Okay, so here's my biggest problem with Aliens, because I didn't really have a lot of problems with Alien. My biggest problem with Alien was just that the monster was not very well done, and I want to say it's because they had a lower budget and they didn't have a proper concept for it. But like by the time Aliens came out, they definitely had a good concept for the xenomorph. Not to mention, like, they flushed out the life cycle, like from queen to egg to hugger to chest burster, to more conversions. So my biggest problem with this one, damn, I had it. I just had it. What was it? The company guy. Fuck, I had a very specific point. But the company guy is still trying to, like, bring these back at the cost of all the facility and all the people they've lost before, and to use as a bioweapon. It's not even that good a bioweapon. I'm just very confused because, like, spoilers, like the whole premise. Oh, I know what it was. It takes 45 minutes for the movie to start. That was my problem. Why did you fart up here? God damn, cat. Oh, this is enough for me to kick you off the desk, for real. Oh, God, stink cat fart. So, okay, yeah, it takes 45 minutes for the fucking movie to actually start, for real. It really does. That's my biggest problem. But, like, the whole premise on, like, them still trying to bring these things back, the guy doesn't realize his own mortality in this effort. It's like, no, you have to come back alive. If you can do so with one of the things, great. And then all he needed was the facehugger whole. He didn't need it, like, in somebody in an uncontrolled environment the entire way. Like, something could have gone wrong with one of the cryostasis tubes. It could have burst out early. It could have ate everyone in their sleep. You don't know. There's so many factors to consider there, and they're supposed to be smart space people, and they're not. It proves that in the future, at least the future from the 80s perspective, that we're still fucking stupid. And nobody, and I mean nobody, is gonna prove that wrong, apparently. Doesn't matter what planet we're on. Oh well. Oh god. But yeah, so they take over that whole colony. That's like the premise for the movie, is that they sent terraformers to the same planet to set up a colony. I guess supposedly have defense for it, and then they had them check certain grids to see if they could find the site where the xenomorph eggs were. And I can only assume that one team that found it, because the I don't know, it was the dad or like the male that was there, like he got face hugged, then yeah, like the Newt was screaming. Then I'm assuming like the other ones fell too, because no one can stop the space huggers, and these fuckers didn't have space suits, even though that we've proven that doesn't matter. In both Prometheus and what was the other one? Was it Covenant? I think as well. The older or the ones previous in the chronology. That like the spacesuit does not matter, but they should still have them. Like you should still have some kind of like protection when you go outside on this mystery planet, even if there is enough oxygen in the atmosphere. Now, granted, if it's an established terraformed colony, that's one thing, but I think in that you wouldn't discover this. So, yeah. So even after like they take that and then they get into the facility, especially if the Queen grew first, I think that would be a lot easier. But there'd probably be a lot more damage, right? I would imagine the Queen grew inside the facility and then grew when she was down there. Probably, I don't know. Like she fits in the elevator, so I don't know. It's kind of hard to just surmise that. I'd like to know. I want to see this movie reshot from the aliens' perspective. That would be kind of cool, actually. I think I would watch that. I did say I wanted this. Oh, what was it? It was something ridiculous. It's like I wanted this movie with like squirrels or something. What was it? I don't remember. I should have made a note. I really don't think I did. But they're totally. There was this point where it's like, I want to see this movie, but with this animal instead, which changes the whole way that they recolonize. But or like at least gets rid of the face huggers. But it was some kind of like little mammal thing. I was surprised that there weren't. It didn't take the hamsters. I guess they're too small for the facehuggers to fit on. So you can't have anything smaller than a cat or a mongoose, probably. Maybe weasels. You could probably do a fox. They play around with that idea a little bit in Alien 3, and then the toy line took off. So that's a little preview for what we're going to end up talking about in Alien 3. But I'll just kind of skip through this a little bit, because again, it takes 45 minutes for the movie to fucking start, so obviously I have to take like 10 minutes to start talking about the movie, so you gotta keep it proportional. No. But they recover Ripley and the magic cat, because still no idea how that fucking cat made it all the way through the first movie. It's kind of a mystery how he got it on board in the first place, and then given that the mission did not expect any animal, that it survived the entire time is amazing. All the way into the second movie, and then she tells the cat it has to stay behind. So, God, does she really collect someone in each movie? I think the third one it's a guy. Oh, well, she kind of collects one in this one. But then she dreams, like, the cat hates her, and, like, stupid bullshit. I'm not going into this. The long and short of it is that they're sending Ripley to this fucking planet with some soldiers so that she can advise on the alien xenomorphs, if that is what it is, which the company knows that's what it is, because they can't admit that they know what it is. I'm exhausted already. That they have to send her under false pretenses along with the soldiers and this fucking lieutenant who doesn't know shit. This unit was being punished. It's like who's expendable? These fuck ups, send them. And you can kind of see it, honestly. Like, Bill Paxton is a shining example. The corporal's the only one who's got like a decent head on their shoulders, but they are kill mission soldiers. The sergeant actually had his shit together, so I'm not sure why he was on there. Maybe he had pissed somebody off by being a hard ass and not looking the other way. That's a thing that happens in the military. Corruption is absolute. So Okay, so we've skipped ahead a little bit in my notes. So what is interesting is that they take a space transport to the planet, and that's kind of where they pop out of cryo, and like they go to the mess hall to finally get some food in them because they haven't eaten in probably a few years, or whatever it is. And then the android bishop plays chicken using someone like a human's hand, which is like a big monumental scene, like that gets spread around, or at least did at the time. And honestly, I don't give a shit. It's not something that wowed me as much. It's like it's impressive to a point, that like Bill Paxton didn't move his hand and get stabbed anyways, but it's an android. He's gonna move with certain amount of precision, and he's not gonna do it to the point where he should harm somebody. He's not supposed to. Let me say that. The first movie proved otherwise, but it is what it is. What it is, my friends. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Ripley tries to brief the soldiers. Their idiots aren't receptive, so I went to make a sandwich. By the time I came back, the space transport had an air transport, like a space Atmo transport. So they're all being cocky and stupid on there. They've got separate crew for the air transport. I have my own problems with them, because they seem like a lot smarter and a lot more professional than these idiots that are playing soldier. So the air transport flies to the planet's surface and ends up deploying a ground transport, which is basically a non-weaponized tank of sorts. It's a little faster, so it's basically a Bradley fighting vehicle without the fighting part. But it's like this long rectangular thing. It's like the Bradley fighting vehicle, except it's like the wiener dog of that. Let's see. And then, like, it really seems like from the drop ship, it rolls about 50 feet, and the soldiers deployed to breach the North Dock. And then, of course, the LT, as the officers, the company man, the civilians, really, Ripley and the company man, stay back to advise via comms while the soldiers clear the whole facility, which doesn't seem to take very long. And they've got these cool motion trackers. The motion tracker idea was really brilliant, and it set up a good couple scenes, even if it is bullshit, because it didn't pick up anything, so the range on it's actually pretty shit, but it is a motion tracker. Then it picks up hamsters, which never come up again. It's a weird thing to just have one off. Then it finally picks up Newt, who I thought she was going to be deaf, because I'd forgotten. I was like, oh, she's going to have to like look at her and sign or speak to her. Like, she didn't even hear the bullets go by. No, she heard everything. She's just, because she's gone. That child in this movie goes through so much trauma. She gets to see her whole family get taken away by xenomorphs. She gets to see everyone she knows on this planet taken and disappear. The things come out and crawl around at night for whatever reason. I guess they just patrol for new prey that shows up, because once they take the facility, there's nothing else on the fucking planet. It's why they were in a cave in eggs in the first place. So they're not really like that much of a threat, especially if they have to eat. So eventually they'd kill themselves off if they have to eat. If they don't have to eat, then they're fucking magic. And we should fear them. Burn them with torches, if that works. So, yeah, fireworks, that's right. I don't know about torches, but flamethrowers! Okay, so LT wisely declares it secure, even though they didn't check the lower levels, obviously. Because had they would have noticed some fucked up shit. So, obviously, everyone in this movie is a fucking moron, which is perfect for horror, because even if you have characters that have lived through shit like this before and is telling them actively, like, hey, this is fucked up, don't do this, horror is fueled by stupidity. I should make like a little fucking flash thing for that. So, I don't even think okay, so obviously, like, the facehuggers took the excavation crew, and somebody brought them inside because they have other facehuggers in specimen jars, like they were studying them because they're fucking morons. They didn't know better. They were just like, "What's this thing?" It attached it to my friend. I should figure it out. Now, there are protocols for things like that, like etc. etc. But I won't harp on it. So they find those. They find two of them actually alive. The company man's excited because then he can bring them back. And he should have left them in the fucking jars, moron. I still don't know, like, because there's a scene later where, like, Newt and Ripley are in the medical bay. Ripley sets down her gun and goes to look for, like, bandages or something like that. And then he sneaks in there, steals her gun, and drops off the two facehuggers. Or he unscrews their container. Something happens so that they can get out. I have no idea how he managed to do that without getting facehugged himself. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But he traitor to his team, his race, probably his company when it really comes down to it, because they lost a lot of money on this. I wonder if it just becomes a thing. It's like they keep looking at it like, well, we've invested this much losses towards it. We should keep going so that we eventually make it back. That sounds a very businessy thing, but I don't know business because it's to work off the fifth and the. Okay, so eventually they find Newt in a fucking hole in the wall. Not literally, but like a vent. She was Annie's boobs. Sorry, Community. There's a monkey, and then for whatever reason, Danny Glover's character, I think it's Trevor, no. Trenton Abed in the morning. It's got to be Trent. He gets a monkey and he names it Annie's boobs, just to annoy Annie, as far as I can tell. So it's funny. Newt's living in this vent for like a couple weeks, and they finally start clearing the fucking base properly. And they notice Section 3 seems to be like converted into bones. There's like some kind of resin that's been excreted. So it's basically xenomorph poop that's been spread on the walls to help change the atmosphere there. It's gross. But that's where they find people all cocooned up. Some of them are dead, some of them are bones, and some of them are still alive. And then, so like one of them bursts out of a chest because they're trying to save the guy, and then they have to burn it all, and then that wakes up all the other xenomorphs going, "Hey, what's going on down there? Playtime!" And so like the ceiling's like swarming with them because they sleep upside down like bats or some shit. And so the soldiers start firing when they're not supposed to. They start fighting back. They start falling behind. And then as far as I can tell, because I got distracted, Sarge and somebody else got left behind. Let's see. The girl gets burned by the acid because they knew about that and still didn't prepare. They went in with bare arms. So Ripley ends up driving the land transport. Gordon, I don't know who Gordon was, but he was unconscious. Maybe Gordon was the lieutenant. That would make sense. So the corporal's basically in charge, and he ends up making some calls. Ripley wants to go up in space and nuke the facility. The company guy's like, no, my aliens. Plus the facility was just worth millions upon millions of double dollars. Oh God. So they're sitting there having a discussion about it in the safety of the land transport, and I'm totally fine with this. But stay the fuck in the land transport. Get the fuck away. And that's kind of what they decide to do. They decide to like get on the air transport and get the fuck out of there. But even though they mostly come out at night, I guess the disturbance of killing one of the babies, like set all the other xenomorphs into seek and destroy mode, and so one of them makes it out to the air transport. And God help them, I don't know what they were doing, that they were just sitting around on a strange planet with the goddamn loading dock undone. Oh, my brain. But apparently one of them got on board and managed to hide. It's not that big an aircraft. You can fit like 6 people in the cargo space. And then there's the cockpit. So where the fuck was it that like he fully got on board, the ramp closed, and then it killed him? Maybe the ship's bigger than I thought, because I'm pretty sure the ground transport was attached underneath, wasn't actually part of the ship. Like it wasn't sitting in its own like cargo bay or anything. I may actually look this up later, because fuck me, it doesn't make any sense. I wonder if there's everything wrong with. So it kills him, the pilot, which I kind of wish we got more of. She seemed cool. Or at least well put together in this movie of idiots. Let's save that. So it goes and kills them, and it dies in the fire of the explosion that it was once the aircraft. Bishop ends up remote piloting a spare air transport or something. I don't know where it was. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is comes from the spaceship. He remote pilots it down. And I had a small problem with this. It's a very small problem. It's that he was still using joysticks. He was still doing this nonsense. And I understand that a human should still be able to use it. But there should also be a little port that Bishop can hook into, and then he just mind controls it. Or, because we're in the future, and things like this can happen now. Granted, this was the 80s, maybe the 90s. Early 90s, late 80s, probably. You could copy part of himself up there to run it. Just a few subroutines to handle piloting the thing until he can get up there and then delete them. Or have him delete himself. Or have, not him delete himself, but have it delete itself from the aircraft. Nothing wrong with that. Honestly, as it's the future, it should have its own AI, even if it's a version of his, and then he should be able to go, "Hey Alexa, come pick us up on the planet's surface," and it should happen. I used Alexa probably when I should have. So for whatever reason, after that, they try to bunker back down in the facility because, quite honestly, what else are you going to do? Because until the other ship gets there, what are you going to do? They try to barricade themselves down. They set up robo-turrets, which apparently there's enough aliens on there for them to just throw bodies at these cannon things until they're out of ammo. And that's exactly what they did, is they kind of tested it. It's like, well, can we go? You find out. You find out. You find out. And they're like, okay, we can go down here without getting blown up. Oh, we're at the door. We can't go any farther. Let's go back. And then they do the same thing with the other 2 turrets, which I really think they should have done 1 turret at a time, but they did seal the door, so I guess it doesn't make sense. They should have activated 1 turret at a time, I would imagine. But I'm glad Ripley and the Corporal get on the same page. He seems to actually be the most sensible. Though, I did forget to take notes for a minute. I actually got into something. Maybe it was the movie. Oh, yeah, because, okay, so they figure out, like, the not only on top of everything, but the facility's going to explode. So not only if they would eventually starve to death on their own, now they're going to get blown up. So the trick is to get off the facility, or out of the facility, before it actually blows up with them inside it. So there's that. But they start crawling through things. They're following Newt, who should know where she's going at this point. So I'll give her that. Follow the kid, whatever. And Newt takes him through this thing, and then there's a wheel that looks like it's designed to help control airflow and suck down moisture. And the way the wheel's designed, it's designed to catch the moisture and then distribute it down into this waterway, which is basically a sewer. And Newt slips and gets trapped on the wheel, which I don't know why she couldn't come up the other side, but or maybe it was blocked. So she ends up down there. So she ends up underneath the floor that they can't lift for whatever reason. So they have to like try to cut through, and as they're cutting through, as they're stomping through the floor, which honestly it shouldn't have taken that long, I would imagine. She's only this big. The aliens come and take her like right then. Like, it's a really dramatic scene. Like, they get through the floor, Ripley's like leaning down to grab her, and then the head's still bobbing in the water from the motion. Like, that's how quickly it was. The alien was smart enough to make her shut up, though, because I hate the fucking scream this girl does. I get that it's probably monumental for the movie at the time, but like, you hear it like 6 or 7 times in the movie, and I'm just done by the end of it. So they managed to get everyone else back to the ship. Ripley goes back for Newt. I guess she figures like there's no big loss there if she goes down. But she's got like a rifle and the flamethrower together, which is a very awkward way to hold it. I would imagine you'd go both sides. But she needed the tracker in one hand, I guess, so she could figure out where to go. Because she gave Newt a little locator, her little Fitbit watch or whatever it was. So she manages to get Newt out of the cocoon because she hears her screaming. Oh, it's giving me flashbacks now. And so, like, they start kind of running away from xenomorphs together, all the way to the Queen's spot. And, like, she looks down, she's like, there's eggs here. I don't like eggs. But these look different. And then, sure enough, she hears, like, this slurping sound, and she's like, soup? And it's the Queen laying eggs. It's like a huge xenomorph attached to this egg sack thing. And then, like, her vaginal egg drop tube, I don't know what you call it, like, is there spitting out eggs. And, like, that's just what the Queen does. She's just like, yeah, laying eggs. Ooh. But the Queen, like, this is obviously a somewhat intelligent race of creatures. They have wants and priorities. Granted, they're not many. And the Queen is genetically programmed to protect the eggs. Part of why she's there. She spends all her time making them. It's an investment. You want to protect your investments. I get that. But she's smart enough that, like, Ripley gets to demonstrate how the flamethrower works, and then she points it at the eggs. The Queen literally calls off her guards, which is honestly a fucking ridiculous scene. She walks like 10 meters to the door, turns around, and then burns everything anyways. You would think with something so smart, you wouldn't want to piss it off like that. The whole facility's going to blow up anyways. The only reason Ripley does this is just out of, like, revenge or whatever. I honestly think the Queen would have let him just walk out of the facility if she was just like, oh, fuck that one, we've got plenty. Because apparently, if the Queen actually has control of the others, and the Queen is like, these are more of a threat than potential sustenance and or new bodies, like, then she would have just let him go and like, well, fuck that one. Or they wouldn't have attacked till she got far enough away from the egg nest. Which is possible. So there's no reason to make them attack early. I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense tactically. It's just like, I'm going to piss you off. There's nothing that's going to make you angrier than taking away your children. But the Queen rips itself away from the egg sack and goes after her because you killed my babies. So the Queen eventually corners them. Ripley makes it to the elevator. And I started laughing my ass off at this point because it's like she gets in, it's like Ripley's just like, I'm so sorry, there's no room going up. And the Queen's like, well, I'll just take the next one. I'll meet you up there. It's fine. And I was just laughing at the idea of like it being a sitcom moment in this horror movie with an alien creature. It was so funny to me. Oh my god. So by this point, the whole facility's exploding. So maybe Queenie's getting the gist of what's happening. She's probably blaming Ripley more and more. Let's see. And then, of course, there's a small one with Ripley. So in the alien mind, that must be her child that she's protecting. Because why else would she protect it? Because in her head, maybe she wouldn't protect another Queen's drone or eggs or whatever. So they finally get back to the dock, and this, I was really surprised because I was like, I thought there was like an epic battle scene. Whatever, hopefully this ends soon. Because I don't know, it droned on a little bit. Like 45 minutes of prep time was too much to start the movie. Because I think it's like 2.5 hours. So if like 1:45, that's probably a perfect amount of movie time for this. You just literally start at 45 minutes in next time you watch it. Guarantee that you won't miss anything. You're just like, wasn't Ripley in space? Didn't she have a cat? Assume all your answers are yes, and then just move on. So it's so funny. Like, I never would have expected this either. Like, they get on the remote transport. Bishop gets them out of there. They land, and then all of a sudden, Bishop takes one through the chest, the alien tail, and she's attached herself like you would, like, if you ninja'd yourself into the corner of a room. Or above in a door frame, or in a hallway. And then she still has her tail free so she could stab away with it. So she stabs Bishop through there. There's a very cool dramatic moment where he gets lifted, and then she rips him in half for dramatic effect, because the one she really wants to kill is Ripley. And I don't understand why she would go for the android when, like, there's no heat or sustenance or anything there. It's just, I'll get rid of this. This toy, this thing that's in my way. So it was Newt hides, and then Ripley runs back to the dock. And so, because this is obviously a revenge-driven issue that's happening, the Queen starts looking for Newt, because that's Ripley's daughter in its mind. So she starts ripping up grates to get at her, and eventually I think she does get her hands on her. Let's see. I know she finds her. Yeah, I'm really tired. Yeah, I've even made a note. I was tired of hearing her scream at this point. And then, regardless of whether or not the Queen gets a hold of Newt, Ripley manages to get into like an exosuit. We saw at the beginning of the movie during the 45 minutes you don't need to watch. It's this big yellow construction thing where it's like you can grip things. Like, what's an example? So, like, you can like go around it, grip it, and do that. And it's like a huge pneumatic crushing device, essentially, so that you can lift heavy things without doing it. That's what an exosuit's for. There's even like cool toys on there, like blow torches and probably small cutting implements, things like that for construction and excavation and things like that. So she's in that, and so she stands just about as tall as the Queen. So it's like she got in a really shitty Gundam. And then she's going to go fight this kaiju. So, I mean, it's a smaller scale, but still, it's the same principle. So, this is not the most exciting fight, if I'm being honest with you. There's a little bit of scratching and scraping, and oh, I'm going to get you. But, like, mostly it comes down to two instances where the Queen charges, and Ripley manages to catch her by the throat and hand and block one of the hands, but she can't block the tail. So the tail starts stabbing at her. The head gets close enough to start doing the eel mouth thing, which still gives me the heebie-jeebies. Don't like it. Don't like eels. They're scary things. I'm not going to get into it right now. Go watch a documentary. Watch River Monsters. That'll show you. And then, oh yeah, so she manages to open the airlock, and I'm calling bullshit on all the physics involved. But she opens the inner airlock, manages to throw down the shaft. The tail, I think, grabs the leg of the exosuit or whatever, and the exosuit ends up pulling down. So Ripley manages to get out of the suit somehow, even though it's on top of the Queen, who's actively trying to kill her. Climbs up about half the rungs as the Queen's wrestling with the exosuit still. Then activates the outer airlock. And then I think the exosuit's caught for a little bit. And so the Queen's hanging onto that. And then eventually she grabs onto Ripley. And the exosuit goes out the door. So there's no way to shut it from inside the airlock itself now. So she has to get to the inner airlock, or inside inside the ship on the other side of the inner airlock. So that means she's climbing up about half the rungs with the Queen on her leg, while the vacuum of space is sucking all the oxygen out of the room and all the objects. So like Newt's sliding across the ground, no problem. Bishop's like torn in half, but he managed to grab her and something else. He's an android. I'll give you that. Newt's not doing anything. She's not putting any effort into it. She's going to be passing out from the lack of oxygen. It's fine. Bishop's awake. He can handle it. He doesn't need oxygen. Ripley, on the other hand, is closer to the door, which means the vacuum's not only stronger, but the air's thinner, so she's not getting nearly as much oxygen. She's fighting the Queen, who's not getting probably any where she's at. If it requires oxygen. I'm still not sure on that one. I'm still not sure these things die when they get sucked out into space. Now, I think Resurrection, that one was obvious because she goes through a hole this big. But oh God, how do I say it? The the physics just don't line up. Like the biology doesn't line up. If your suspense of disbelief is broken during any part of this, you might end up not enjoying it. But fuck me, like it just doesn't make sense. This is something like Matt Pat needs to do a film theory on, but it's not relevant, so he won't do it. Shame, for shame, Matt Pat. But yeah, so that's just kind of my feelings on it. But of course, after that, Bishop can be repaired. He's not fatally wounded. He's not happy as far as androids go. But Ripley and Newt make it through. I think the corporal's still on the transport. Like, I think they were going to get someone to help. Because where did they land? Because the air transport to the spaceship. If there were any other crew on board, they were going to get help from them to carry him inside, I think. Because they still have to, like, transport all the way back to whatever planet they left. Because I don't think it was Terra. To go home. So they're not out of the woods yet. But Ripley has a cat, a daughter, and a man. Well, half a man. And an android. So that's the setup for the next movie, because oh God, Alien 3 happens after this, and that's what we're gonna watch next week over on Rabbit/Camera. I can't say that this has a great premise. I think the premise is supposed to be that the company, I'm going off memory here, the company actually gets a hold of an alien or two, and decides to test it on a prison. So I think they end up killing or replacing the guards. And then because it's one of those prisons where it's like they just put them all in a hole in the ground and they run themselves, they just kind of release a couple eggs or face huggers or whatever into the prison. And they put Ripley in the prison along with the crew because they're trying to get rid of evidence, essentially, that this ever happened. Plus, they want to test their bioweapon in a controlled environment, which that prison actually would be. So, I actually approve of this from a company standpoint. God. But, it's a weird premise for a movie. But I remember it being all right. And there's some couple interesting twists with it, if I am remembering correctly, especially since These are a bunch of people who specifically have very little resource. So this will be interesting to see how they go, because I don't remember all of it. I remember, is it Forrest Whitaker? I think that's who it is. He plays kind of like the religious guy. Ripley's there, and then I think Ripley and Newt being there in a prison full of men, like that kind of writes its own. But they've got to handle the situation, and we'll see how it is. And then maybe we can do Resurrection. Yay! I liked Resurrection. I know a lot of people don't, but I liked it because it was a more modern version of it for my time period. But I think that's going to do it for today. We all have other things to do. So thank you for joining me for a little bit of Scary Movie Squad. Right here on #WeAreMovieClub. You want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels. Thanks for watching.